Welcome back to EFD and yet another Scout Report, where today we've got for you 5 interesting developments in the Premier League this season which haven't really been spoken about. 5. Arsenal are not good. A loss to Man City and a narrow defeat at Chelsea set the tone for another disappointing campaign for the Gunners fans. But a run of 9 straight wins, with 27 goals scored and just 8 conceded, has put Arsenal in the driving seat in the Europa League group and back in their familiar 4th place in the Premier League. But under the hood, trouble is brewing, and not just in defence. With 19 goals in league play, Unai Emery's side have the 2nd most prolific attack in England, with only Man City outscoring them after 8 matches. But according to expected goals, Arsenal would only have been predicted to hit the net 10 times, a tally that only ranks 10th in the Premier League. That 9 goals over performance is largely down to the red-hot form of Lacazette and Aubameyang, who have netted 8 between them despite a combined XG of under 4.5, a streak which is likely to come to an end even for 2 elite strikers. Even more worryingly, Laka and Abba are currently putting up between 0.3 and 0.4 expected goals per 90 minutes, meaning that the both of them are currently getting fewer chances than at any point in the last 5 years, and that Emery should be thinking of how to get Ozil firing behind them. In defence, the story is the same as ever. Arsenal are conceding nearly 15 shots a match, placing them 16th in the Prem, and while XG makes them look a little bit better, with the Emirates side ranking 9th. But these are barely league average numbers, let alone Champions League stats, and 7 yellow cards among their back 4 after 8 games suggest that the defence is constantly having to make risky challenges to prevent goals. However, there is still some hope. Arsenal's slightly undeserved points tally means that Emery has some breathing room to fix his side, and if the Spaniard can bed into Herrera and move Ozil back into the number 10 spot, there's still a chance for top 4. Especially with United and Spurs underperforming. Still, don't be surprised if the Gunners are on the end of a hinding soon. 4. Bournemouth are good. Despite the general acclaim for Eddie Howe's achievements at Bournemouth, we were sceptical after last season. The Cherries ranked 16th in the league for shots against per game, 20th for tackles, 19th for interception and 19th for expected goals against, while allowing 61 actual goals in 38 league matches, roughly 1.6 a game. This season, the top line numbers don't look that different. With 12 goals conceded after 8 matches, Bournemouth are letting in 1.5 a game. But when you look a bit deeper, the improvement is clear. While last season's team allowed 1.7 expected goals per 90, that's now around 1.2. In fact, only 5 Premier League sides have conceded less XG, and the stats suggest that so far, with Bournemouth's back line having been tougher to get through than those of Arsenal, Spurs and Man United. So what has changed? The club still ranked 2nd last for tackles and interceptions and are actually having slightly less possession than before. However, their defenders have less pressure on them to make game-saving challenges, with Howe's 4 most used defenders making a combined 9.6 tackles and interceptions a game this year, compared to 12.3 last year. That's likely down to improved work rate from the guys further up the field, with new winger David Brooks winning possession nearly 3 times a game, and new midfielder Lerma over 4. As a consequence, the average shot Bournemouth allow is of incredibly low quality, with about 7% chance of being scored, better than Man City on 8. And with Callum Wilson contributing to 7 goals through 8 matches and Ryan Fraser on 6, you have a recipe for a solid season. Their current 6th place may not last, but Bournemouth are almost certain to remain a Premier League side. 3. Is Harry Kane dropping off? With 5 goals and an assist in 720 league minutes this season, Harry Kane looks set for yet another lethal year in front of goal. He has improved his league tally every campaign since he broke into the Spurs side back in 2014, with 21, 25, 29 and then 30 in the 17-18 season, but on current form it seems unlikely that streak will continue. Kane's success has generally been built on huge shot volume. As a general rule, 3 shots per game is decent for a striker, 4 is excellent, and 5 reserved for only the best of the best. Ronaldo, Messi, Lewandowski, and this season, Kylian Mbappe. Kane was right at the top in 17-18, racking up about 5.8 shots per 90 until he left the field with an ankle injury during a March fixture versus Bournemouth. Though he was expected to sit out for 4 to 6 weeks, Kane returned to action just a fortnight later, but he wasn't the same man. His shot numbers dropped to 3 a game and expected goals came down too, slipping from 0.8 per 90 to around 0.4. Still decent, but about the same as Benteke and Vardy, rather than Salah and Aguero. That form continued at the World Cup, as half of his Golden Boot winning total of 6 came from penalties, and the Englishman only managed 11 shots in 6 games. Though expected goals have noticed an uptick in form since the beginning of the 18-19 season, with Kane back up to 0.65 per game, nearly a third of that comes from penalties, and shots have failed to see a corresponding climb, remaining around 3. Of course, Kane is still an excellent finisher when he gets chances, but with the number of chances he gets diminishing, it's possible that the striker is still not 100%. That's troubling when he's played more minutes than any Tottenham player so far this campaign, and could see a dip become permanent if Pochettino isn't careful. So long as he keeps scoring, no one will worry too much, but this one may be worth keeping an eye on. 2. Southampton's striker situation. For much of the last 2 years, Southampton's woes have generally been attributed to one thing: their lack of a consistent striker. But with the acquisition of Danny Ings from Liverpool this summer, it looked like the Saints had found an inspired solution. Despite his injury-ridden time on Merseyside, which saw him play just 600 minutes in the last 3 years, Ings' record at Burnley suggests that the Englishman has plenty of talent. At just 22 years old, he was involved in 15 of the 28 goals scored by the Clarets in the 2014-15 relegation campaign, and despite his €22 million price tag representing a big risk, he has been similarly instrumental in his early days at the St Mary's. In 7 appearances, Ings has scored 3 goals, and when you take a look at his stats, it's no surprise. He's taking 3 shots inside the box per 90, with 1 shot a game coming from inside the 6-yard box, and he ranks 5th for expected goals in the league, above Eden Hazard. In fact, he gets chances at about the same rate as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang did on his arrival in England in January. And his record could be even better. Based on the quality of chance he's getting and creating, expected goals models would predict Ings to have about 5 goals and assists, but he only has 3. That gap is likely to disappear over the course of the season, especially if Mohamed Elyounoussi plays more. The Norwegian is the only footballer in the Southampton squad currently creating more chances a game than Ings' 1.7, which both demonstrates the 24-year-old's quality and perhaps makes it less surprising that only 3 Premier League teams have scored fewer than Southampton's 6 in 8. It's a pity that the club sold Dusan Tadic, who was making more than 3 goal-scoring opportunities a game back in the Eredivisie with Ajax. But if Ings keeps up his current form, he could be the difference between Premier League and Champions League football for the Saints. 1. Mohamed Salah is improving. Perhaps it was inevitable that Mo Salah's second year at Anfield would disappoint. The Egyptian's record tally of 32 goals in the Prem plus 10 assists ranked as one of the 3 most productive campaigns in the history of the division, while a run to the Champions League final raised hopes of a return to greatness for Liverpool, always a dangerous thing. However, as brilliant as Salah was in 2017-18, the little forward overperformed his underlying numbers to a degree that was unlikely to continue. While his expected goals tally of 25 ranked second only to Harry Kane and his rate of 0.77 xG per 90 was the 5th best in the division, it took a hot vein of finishing to see him break the 30 barrier, and finishing, even for the best players, tends to go through hot and cold patches. But even in his supernova season, Salah only registered 4 goals and 1 assist in the first 8 games of the league campaign, just 1 goal more than he had at the same stage this year. And more importantly, his output has improved. His shot numbers have remained the same with over 4 a match, while chances creative have jumped up from around 1.9 per 90 last season to 2.3. As a result, Salah leads the Prem in expected goals with 6 and ranks 8th for expected assists with 2, twice as many as his real tally in both categories. And promisingly for Reds fans, the uptick in creativity indicates that Salah has the versatility and intelligence to create for his teammates, if better marking means he can't score for himself. The frustration for the 26-year-old is that even if he's finishing rebounds, he'd still be expected to end this year with 30 goals and 10 assists. Amazing stats, but inferior to last year just by the overall improvement in his play. Nonetheless, even at this early stage, it's enough to show that Mo Salah is still one of the best attackers in the world and is probably due an explosion soon. One season wonder? We don't think so. So those were our 5 untold Premier League stories so far this season. Have a guess who wrote that one in the comments below. His first name begins with a P. If you've enjoyed this, why not check out Stat Wars on screen right now. I'm not doing that well in the league, but you know, there's still hope, hopefully. And as always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.